Sonic the Hedgehog 3 exceeded all expectations, breaking box office records, appealing to fans and critics alike, and further solidifying Sonic's place in the film industry. The fourth movie's already been confirmed for a spring 2027 release, which really can't come quick enough. And the post-credit scenes give us quite a bit to work with regarding what this sequel might try and do. Today, we're gonna break down all the possible directions that go with this movie and figure out the most probable Sonic movie 4. And if you still haven't seen the third one yet, you might want to go do that first, because just about everything's gonna get spoiled here. So, the first Sonic movie was tasked with establishing the cinematic universe and working Sonic into the quote, real world. It's not a direct adaptation of any game in particular, but rather sets up the franchise to build out and tell those stories later, which is exactly what they're doing now. The second film recreated Sonic 3 and Knuckles, and the third one clearly did the same for Adventure 2. So the new characters introduced are a direct indication of what the movie's gonna take inspiration from. Sonic 2 adds Tails and Knuckles, Sonic 3 adds Shadow and Gerald's crew, and Sonic 4 we know is gonna add Metal Sonic and Amy, which makes me heavily inclined to believe we're getting a Sonic Heroes movie. I know both of these characters were introduced in Sonic CD, but there's three big reasons I'm confident they're not gonna go that direction here. First off, Sonic CD involves a lot of time travel, and that's a really easy thing to screw up, and the last time they really played around with that idea was in Sonic 06. Safe to say they don't really want to try that. Now, if the new character were Silver, they'd have to suck it up and just do it. And they will when it's Silver's time to shine, but that's most likely not going to be here, unfortunately. Reason number two, it seems like they're going in order of release to some extent, which is why I find it weird they waited so long to introduce Amy and Metal Sonic when CD came out right after the original game. But guess when Heroes came out? Right after Adventure 2. We just got the Adventure 2 movie. And the third and biggest reason is because of what we see Amy doing in the post-credits scene. In her debut in Sonic CD, she's infatuated with Sonic and gets herself kidnapped by Metal as a result of following him around, which paints her as a really helpless and dependent character. After that game though, she's never really been a damsel in distress again. She's often portrayed as annoying or just a cheerleader, but you don't really rescue her, especially recently where she's been a part of Team Sonic. In Sonic Superstars, she's a main playable character, same thing with Sonic Origins. In Sonic Frontiers, she's in trouble again, but so are Tails and Knuckles, and all three become playable through DLC. They're making an active effort to give her a more central role nowadays, and the tiny bit of her we see in the post-credits scene shows that very same agenda. She beats up the Metal Sonic army with ease when Sonic was kinda helpless to it, and it makes her look full-on girl boss, and I don't actually hate that look for her. When the source material constantly paints a character as incompetent or weak, it can be annoying to see them betray that for the sake of appealing to a female demographic. Peach in the Mario movie was controversial for that very reason, and I get it, because she's been a damsel in distress like 90% of the time, so making her better than Mario to almost an annoying extent is weird when you've spent your entire life rescuing that same princess. Amy, on the other hand, has been a pretty consistent equal to Sonic. Outside of that first game, she's either an excessive fangirl, not there, or a solid contributor. And to prove that, I ranked her in every mainline game she appears in, and more often than not, she's a capable hero, so this look for her in the cinematic universe is as faithful as it could be. And there's no way in hell they'd revert her back to her Sonic CD role. What about Metal Sonic though? Well, he's been a lot more of a consistent character over the years, not in terms of story involvement, but in capability. He was the original villain created to rival Sonic, because Eggman's not much of a physical specimen, and before Shadow or even Knuckles were established, Metal was the most threatening foe. And after Sonic's new rivals got introduced, he faded into obscurity for just about every game, except Sonic Heroes, and if they're gonna make him the main antagonist and try to top the world-ending Eclipse canon from Sonic 3, Metal Overlord is the way to do it. Name a better Crush 40 song than Live and Learn. What I'm Made Of. How about a more epic final battle than Super Sonic and Super Shadow flying through space smashing a bunch of robots? This fucking thing requiring Sonic, Tails, Knuckles, Amy, and Shadow to pull through all at once. Even still, I don't know if you can top this final sequence, but if there's any hope, that's it. And with the current state of the Sonic cinematic universe, the Sonic Heroes route honestly works perfectly. One of the underlying themes in the last movie was basically teamwork makes the dream work. Team Sonic's facing a lot of struggles being a newly formed team. They dispute over the team name, how they want to handle situations throughout the movie, and at the end, Sonic up and abandons them to do what he wants anyways, which almost costs them everything. And in the aftermath, they make it a point to show how much stronger their bond has grown. So the best way to expand on that is to adapt the game where they were literally inseparable. And it works even better when you consider how up in the air Eggman's return is. They sent him off in such a grand and impactful way, it would feel almost wrong to bring him back. But since his character carries these movies so much, I still really want to see it. But I know what people are wondering, how the f*** would he survive that explosion? And I thought the same thing at the end of Sonic 2, and look what happened. If anything, I think there's even more evidence here than there was at the end of the last one, because the post-credit scene shows that Shadow survived the explosion, so there's a real possibility he used his power to save a fully redeemed Eggman.
Will they go that direction though? Well, it depends on if Jim Carrey's willing to come back, and my gut says he absolutely is.
He publicly stated that he's not exactly retiring. Instead,
I've decided to power rest between projects. I power rest.
And he said multiple times that he loves the Robotnik character, the crew he works with, and the creative freedom he's given in these movies. So I'd say he's more likely to do a Sonic 4 than any other film, because he knows what to expect and knows he loves it. And if it doesn't work out between them, or they just don't work him into the plot, it still functions without him, and if he does make that return, there's another easy way to get rid of him at the end. Remember, in Sonic Heroes, the Eggman you're chasing around isn't actually him, it's Metal Sonic shapeshifting, and the real Eggman was locked away somewhere until the very end. Jim Carrey can come back and reprise his Eggman role as a fake hologram with no strings attached. And if they wanted to bring him back in number 5, just say he was locked away during the events of the film like he was in the original Heroes. It works too freaking well. If he doesn't come back though, maybe Agent Stone could play a similar role as a hologram that seemingly took over for his departed boss but was actually locked up. I don't know. Point is, with Metal Sonic being the main antagonist, the Sonic Heroes plot works perfectly well with or without Eggman.
As for who created Metal Sonic, that's where things get a little tricky.
With Eggman having that arc at the end of the movie, it'd be weird for him to come back and just resume being evil again. There's just no motive there. He still has a bunch of Sonic's quills, so he has the means to build them, but why would he? Maybe he's vengeful because Team Sonic left him to die, or maybe he creates them with no intent to do harm and it just gets out of hand. There's ways to make it work. And if he's dead, he either created it beforehand, or maybe Stone picked up a thing or two from his time working with the Doctor, or they came from a different dimension like Amy did. Now, I don't want to dive into that side of it too much because that's kind of a cop-out on their part, and I'd rather it tie into the current movie world and be faithful to the lore of the games where he's an Eggman creation. But Amy's most likely from a different dimension, and with her slaughtering them so efficiently, maybe she's done it a lot before. But I think the most intriguing and challenging character to work into this new movie is Shadow. I don't see him being a member of Team Sonic and traveling with the gang. That's just not who he is. But there's been a lot of rumors about a Shadow spin-off series like Knuckles got, and that would be awesome. He's always been mostly a lone wolf character, whose path only crosses Sonic's when the world depends on them, which will probably happen in Sonic 4, but I don't see him being around for a lot of runtime. I know he's on Team Dark in Sonic Heroes, but they're not going to bring back every single team, like you're not going to see the Chaotix, and you probably won't see much of the human characters either. They've been sorta weaning off these guys more and more, so you most likely won't get much Tom, Maddie, or Wade Whipple. With so many Sonic characters established now, you're gonna be seeing mostly them, which is great. No offense to those human characters, I think they have their moments, but I'm not alone saying the wedding subplot was a bit much. Going off Sonic 2 and 3, they'll encounter Amy pretty early on, and if it goes anything like the post-credit scene, Sonic will be alone when they meet, and there's a chance they travel as a twosome while Tails and Knuckles do the same. That would give Amy some time to develop feelings for Sonic, and hopefully they don't make her super annoying about it. A huge part of the Sonic Heroes story, and what made it so great, was all the different teams colliding with each other throughout. And doing it this way would get a similar feeling across without flooding the big screen with characters like, well, big. If they end up making that Shadow miniseries though, I could see them maybe assembling a mini Team Dark to interact with in the same way throughout. And I'd like that a lot better, but they probably want all these movies to stand on their own, and not require watching all these extra series. Like how they gave a nod to the Knuckles series in Sonic 3, but they weren't like, remember this character? They're part of the main cast now, and thank God for that. Another key plot element they can finally take advantage of is the Chaos Emeralds, because at the end of Sonic 3, we have no clue where they are. Shadow was the last one in super form, but with the space colony's explosion, that could have sent the emeralds flying all across the planet. And if that's the case, it would make sense for the new Sonic foursome to split into two teams and go hunting for him. That way the team element from the game kinda remains intact, and maybe Shadow's hunting him down separately too, and he comes in clutch for the final fight, allowing Sonic to go super like he does at the end of Heroes. I doubt both hedgehogs will go super again. That was peak, but doing it again won't feel nearly as impactful.
I don't know, there's so much potential with this movie, and I cannot wait to see what comes of it. And I'm sure you've got tons of ideas and theories about it, so leave all your takes on Sonic Movie 4 down in the description. And if you love Sonic the Hedgehog and being dripped out of your mind, you gotta go check out King Ice's Sonic line.
They got some of the highest quality jewelry on the market, and they turned the Sonic crew into incredibly sharp and classy pieces. This one here, the Super Sonic, goes hard, and is the perfect complement to any Sonic fan's attire.
Use code Jeremy M. Klinger at checkout to save an additional 10% on your order, and a little bit of that goes to help the channel, so I would really appreciate it. And with all that said, thank you so much for watching this video, and as always, I will see you later.